Hi.
Hello. Welcome back to our channel. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the 10 things you need to know about homeschooling.
Yes, so I have been getting lots of emails and messages about people who want to start homeschooling, but they don't know where to begin. And so I'm hoping that this video will be able to help you to get started in homeschooling. So we should get started?
Yeah, let's begin. Number one.
Okay, so number one is to have a purpose. So in anything or any new venture, you want to have a purpose and a reason for why you're doing it. A lot of people homeschool for different reasons: religious beliefs, more one-on-one time with students, more family interactions, more family activities. So just set a purpose on why you want to homeschool.
And knowing why you want to homeschool is important because there are going to be times when it does get very difficult, and having that purpose and having that why will help to get you back on track.
Right?
Number two,
set your priorities. So you have to make sure when you're homeschooling, your number one priority. So what you want to learn in homeschool, but the number one thing is the kids.
It's the kids. Count the costs. So, prioritize your life. With homeschooling, it incorporates all aspects of your life, and so prioritizing and knowing what you have in your life, and deciding what's important from top to bottom is very important when it comes to homeschooling. And people have to ask that tough questions and be honest when they answer that question.
Yes, and make sure that no matter what you do, your priority should be to always give your best.
That's correct.
Right.
I agree. Number three
is write down your goals. So with anything that you're doing, you always want to have an end result. So when we first began homeschooling years ago, I didn't know where to begin. So I set some goals, I wrote them down, what I wanted the kids to learn. I got some books. I would encourage you to look up homeschooling laws in your state, because some states have mandates on homeschool year by year and what they require your homeschool students to know by the end of each school year. Some states require a portfolio that you'll have to turn in. Some states, we just moved from California, they have charter schools that have independent studies, and they have people who come collect schoolwork from your kids every 21 days just to show that your kids are learning. But you need to look at your state's laws and set goals. So if you have a kindergartner and your goal is to get them reading by the end of the year, that could be your goal in homeschool.
Yeah, and one of the great ways to start setting goals is by using the acronym SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable. Sometimes they switch the letters. Achievable, realistic, and time-based. So by using that template and setting up goals, not only for yourself as an individual, but for each of your children, and also as a family homeschooling unit as a whole, it'll help to make sure that you get to your short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals when you need to, and adjust as you go.
Yes, and what we like to do as a family is usually around the springtime, correct? We sit down and we plan out the next year's curriculum, what we want to do. We'll get into that later in a different number, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Number four
is stay in touch. Find homeschooling families in your area and get together. Go on trips, learn things together, nature walks. If you're not anywhere near anybody else that homeschools, find some pen pals. You have family members, church members, community members. Have the kids write letters so that they can get pen pals in different states. There's also video chats, FaceTime, Google Hangouts.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you make. Communication not only with other homeschooling families in your area, but also with other homeschooling families that might be in different states and even in different parts of the world.
That's true. International pen pals.
International pen pals.
That'd be fun, right?
You get the cool little envelope with the, you know, with the stamp from the country, and you post it up, and
You're right.
put a pin on a map. Like, I got one from here, got one from here.
That's perfect.
I just thought of that. That sounds kind of fun.
You're very smart.
International pen pal.
Yes.
That'd be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
Okay. Number 5.
Number 5 is teach to your child's interest. So we both have college degrees. Mine's in English.
Mine's in science, specifically athletic training, sports medicine.
And even though we were both college educated, we understand that not every kid is going to be college bound. And I say that because we have kids. We have a daughter who loves to bake. And so it wouldn't really benefit her to go to a 4-year university if she wants to open up her own bakery. So when I say teach to their interest, we do a lot of chemistry work, math work, fractions, reading of recipes, demonstrating ability to follow directions through reading comprehension and things like that to get her ready, because, you know, eventually her goal is to get into culinary school. And so I want to kind of gear her towards that. We have another daughter that's really wanting to get into the cosmetology field. Again, a 4-year university would not benefit her either. So getting her to be business minded, you know, setting up a plan that she wants to do, and perhaps get into cosmetology school. But I wanted to point out that trade schools are also a great idea for children, because not all of them need to go to 4-year universities. Yeah,
you know, what are your goals? But goes back to goals, and this is a specific type of goal. What are your children's career goals? What do they want to do? And as you said, some will have to go to a 4-year university to earn a bachelor's degree, say in a bachelor's in business administration. But for our daughter, she'll go to culinary school, and there's a chance that she might take 1 or 2 classes on business if she wanted to start her own business. You might get the education you need at a community college, or as you mentioned, in trade school, or an apprenticeship where you actually earn money while doing the job, but then you're also in classes in the evening time as well. So you're working, making money, but you're also getting your education and becoming an expert in that field. So it's all about what are the career goals for your children. And then once you know that, then you can develop a plan to help them achieve that.
That's right.
Number 6?
6, curriculum. We talked about this earlier in the video. Each year around springtime, right before the end of the school year, we sit down and we go over the goals for the previous school year, see if the kids have met those goals, if they missed any goals, and then we tend to move on from there. My advice is don't go curriculum crazy. There's been times when we've gotten curriculum and they just didn't work out, and now you've wasted time and money trying things that didn't work. And so I would say read reviews, ask questions, just don't. There's lots of free websites that can help you do the same thing that a bunch of really expensive curriculum will do.
Yes, it's going to test you in a lot of different ways, and reading is one of them. You got to read, you got to do your research, you got to get out there. But I will say this: when it comes to curriculum, make sure you're choosing something that is progressive and systematic in nature. It's organized and it's disciplined, and it follows a certain pathway, and it builds upon concepts. It also provides opportunities for them, for your students, to actually apply what they're learning in the textbook in real world settings, which will lead us to another point in one of our 10 steps, which is a great way to do that, to apply what you're learning in the curriculum and in the school.
That's a great segue.
Yep. Number 7,
field trips.
Field trips. And so, as I was saying, segue into that, field trips. What are field trips? And you'll explain more about what we do, but field trips are a great way to for your child to apply what they're learning at home, what they're learning in the classroom. One of the field trips that we went on a hike to a mountain here in Austin called Mount Benel, and there's a couple things that it's fulfilling. Number one, we're hiking, so it's fulfilling physical education. So our children are learning how to be physically fit, and different ways in which you can be physically fit other than going to a gym. You can go for a hike, and then also looking at the rocks and looking at the wildlife and the shrubberies and all those things native to that area, taking pictures, going home and looking up what this leaf is, what it does, and what this animal is, what does it do, how does it affect the ecosystem and everything.
Science guy, ecosystem, geology, botany, things of that nature. So a lot of things that you might deem mundane or, you know, not fun, your kids think are exciting. So a lot of field trips that we've gone on that I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so boring. We've had so much fun. We've toured our local grocery store. We've learned about nutrition. We've learned about organics versus non-GMOs. That was a great one. We visited the firehouse. We learned about fire safety, what the smoke alarms in our houses do. We've gone on tons of field trips to museums, science museums. We've gone to art museums, looking at different modern art. Anything that you can get out of the house to get your kids to do. I know it's called homeschool, but you don't always have to be at home to do homeschool. And I found that our kids keep the knowledge of the things that we've learned outside of the home just as much as they do the book work that we do.
Right, and hang in there. It's going to be tough at first, because when you first start homeschooling, a lot of what we've been conditioned in our minds and what we've learned at, in public school and other institutions is you sit at a table, you sit at a desk for 6-7 hours a day. And so quite naturally, your first year might be like that. And you might find yourself not exploring as much, but as you continue to move forward, you'll start to see that your classroom will be it'll essentially be a classroom without borders, where you'll be in here to learn some basic stuff, but most of the learning that our children do now is outside of the house and just any little moment that we have, whether it be a hike or whether it be, grocery shopping, whatever it might be.
Sure.
Number 8. Don't be afraid of the mess.
Don't be afraid of the mess.
And it gets messy.
Homeschool is very messy.
It gets messy.
And you will find books, papers, paper clips, staplers, pencils. Pencils disappear. I had no idea. I think the kids eat them.
Rocks. I've stepped on a rock before because they brought in a rock from outside to explore the rock, and the rock fell off the table and left there, and I stepped on a rock. It was a very sharp rock.
We talked about Legos being on the floor and being
Legos. The times I stepped on the Lego.
I know.
It makes you crumble right to the ground.
Vacuumed it up.
You ever want to see a big grown man crumble to the ground in pain? Put a Lego on the floor.
And he'll That's funny. You're funny. Lots of science experiments are messy, especially when you want to build a volcano and the lava starts coming out. So I would just say don't worry about the mess. It's gonna be messy, but kids love a good cleanup song, and they can be good helpers to help clean up. I know my kids are shaking their heads right now, but let me tell you, I don't clean up their messes from homeschool. I just kind of facilitate what should happen.
Yeah. And that's a great word, facilitate. And that's what you are as a homeschooling parent, is you're a facilitator. You're facilitating lessons, and, the goal is for your students and your children to take over and move forward with it and dig deeper with the concept. So
yes, and laundry is a very excellent concept to have in homeschooling. Yeah. That's a mess that you can actually clean up. It's the laundry time.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get some tips too on how to kind of, how a mess by one of your children can actually turn into a really good learning experience.
Yes. Everything's learning experience.
So like crayons on the wall, it's art.
Get a magic eraser.
She just made art on the wall. Take a picture.
Magic erasers are everything.
Wait, is that a Sharpie on the wall? That's probably going too far. Yes. Crayons, we could do crayon Sharpies.
You don't want them. Okay.
Small can of paint. Number 9, you can do it.
You can do it. I know everything seems overwhelming, and you might think that you don't have the tools to homeschool your kids, but no one knows your kids better than you do. And who better to teach and equip your kids for the future than you. You know how to make them happy, what makes them sad, how to get them motivated, how to keep them motivated, reward systems, demerit systems, whatever you can think of. You know your kid best, and you should never, ever, ever think that you can't do it, because you can.
That's right. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. It's going to be tough. You're going to realize that you are not smarter than a fifth grader when you first start off.
When you first start.
When you first start.
I am.
You are
I have taught fifth grade twice.
Right. So you're going to realize, fourth grade math, you're going to realize, oh my gosh, and you're going to have to really, be humble about it and realize that for my child to fully understand these concepts, I actually have to really relearn them myself. But with time and experience, it should be a lot easier for you as a parent to pick those things up. And so a lot of times it starts at, from the beginning, learning how to read a ruler or decimals and fractions that most adults don't even know.
Sure.
So, but eventually you will be smarter than a fifth grader.
You will be.
But at the beginning you might not be.
And I will say that there are times when you will want to quit.
Oh.
I have those moments where I don't really want to get out of bed. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this again today. Mm-hmm. And on those days, I really encourage you to just stop. Let the kids go outside, play, take a break. You can pick it up tomorrow or not. You can pick it up next week. Give yourself a break like you would give your kids a break. Kids have bad days just like adults have bad days. So kind of take those things in consideration, and think about those things. But you can do it.
Yep, and that's the freedom. If they're not responding that day, take a day off. Take a day off.
Do something fun.
Do something fun.
And
wow. Oh, number 10.
Last
10?
one.
10?
Yeah, we're at 10.
Oh, 10.
You made it. Number 10.
Number 10. It's worth it.
It's worth it. Absolutely worth it. The time spent with the kids, the knowledge, nothing says achievement better when you've taught your kids how to read and they're reading you bedtime stories rather than you reading the bedtime stories. That's one of the best feelings ever, to know that I taught them a lifelong lesson that they'll take with them and possibly teach to their own children. Right. And there's no greater feeling. It's all worth it in the end. The craziness, the wanting to pull your hair out, the late nights. There's been lots of crying times, mostly on my part, not so much the kids' parts. Stress. Are they gonna get it? Do they understand what I'm telling them? All of it is worth it in the end. That's time spent with your kids, time spent as a family. You're able to teach them what you want them to learn. And
a lot of times what you didn't get taught. So you get to expose them to things that that you weren't taught, and that's what it's all about. It's all about preparing the next generation. Absolutely. And preparing them and exposing them to opportunities that maybe we didn't have, but we're aware of and privy to, and giving it to them. And
ask the kids to evaluate you. Sure. How am I doing as a teacher? Did you learn this?
That's important. Evaluations are important.
How would you like to learn this? Are you more this kind of a learner? Are you this kind of a learner? Give your kids the ability to provide feedback.
Objective feedback, evaluations is very, very important. It allows you to get an idea of what's going on in your child's head. It also gives you an idea of what works, what doesn't work, some things to continue doing, some things to put on the back burner. But that's important. It's just going to make you a better teacher. It's going to make you a better parent, and specifically when it comes to what you're trying to teach your kids in the classroom.
And a closer family. So thanks for watching the video.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Okay, if you have any questions or any comments, just leave them below in the comment section, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. I've been homeschooling for quite some time now, about at least 5 years, I think. But we homeschooled before when our kids were younger. But this guy here is a public school teacher, so.
Yeah, and I've been watching her homeschool for 5 years.
So that's fun.
She does like 98% of the homeschool she does. Like she'll call me, hey, can we purchase this kit? Yeah, go ahead and purchase the kit.
Yes, this is the principal of our homeschool. I'm the principal.
Yeah, she's the day-to-day in the classroom.
I'm the teacher, counselor, administrator.
Yeah, there you go, teacher, counselor, administrator. Do you need supplies? Okay, sure, we'll order it.
Yes. So, once again, thank you for watching the video. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to try to get some answers for you.
And I don't know, you already said it, but please make sure you comment and also like, subscribe, and share.
Thank you for watching. Bye.